Have you ever thought of having a part-time job during your studies and you don't have any idea how the part-time job in Singapore? Then this video is for you guys. I will share some basic information regarding to the part-time job as well as including some of my experience. So watch the video until the end and you will get some useful information for the part-time job. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Stella in Singapore. So today's video is about the part-time job, and that is the question that most of you guys are asking. So I think that I should create a separate video for that. First thing first, I would like to mention that in Singapore, people take it as an offense whenever you ask their salary. So make sure that when you come to Singapore, you are not asking any other people's salary, because they take it as an offense and it is their confidentiality. So I also understand that some of you guys come and ask me about my monthly salary and part-time payment, and because you have to make an estimated amount of money that you need per month. So in this video, I will give a general idea of how the part-time job, and you can calculate yourself how much you will earn per month, because it depends on how many hours that you can work. So it all depends on you, and I hope that you can understand that I'm not very transparent regarding to my salary. Are students allowed to do a part-time job in Singapore? So it all depends on which school are you going. So basically, the public school students can do a part-time job. So it may be from polytechnics, and then the local universities like the NUS, NDU, or the SMU students can do a part-time job. And private university students are not allowed to a part-time job. So I will show you a list of the schools that are allowed to do a part-time job, and you may have a look at it whether the name of your schools or institutions are involved in that or not. So it's the website from the MOM, Ministry of Manpower. And as you can see that if you are not from these institutions, you are not allowed to work. You must be at least 14 years and above, and you must hold a student pass. And there are the list of institutions that you can work during the school holidays. Later, I will put the link in my description box, and you can have a look at it. And they also mention, like, if your student pass expire, then you have to apply for the work pass to do the full-time job or your part-time job. And during the school terms, as I mentioned earlier, you are just allowed to work 16 hours maximum, and the approved institution will be lesser than those can work during the school holidays. And again, I will put the link in my description box. If you are eligible to do a part-time job, then you can find a part-time job through websites like the Job Street, Indeed, and then the Job DBs. There are lots of part-time jobs like F&B, food and beverage, and then the sales assistant or the clinic assistant or the data entry. There are lots of part-time jobs that you can find in their websites. So from the website, you can see their job requirements, job scope, how many hours you need to do, and then the salary per hour. So you can find the one that you are really interested in, and then you can proceed to contact with them through the email or the WhatsApp. It depends on what they are provided in their website. Sometimes they just provide the email, and sometimes they just provide the WhatsApp. So it depends on what they are providing, and you can proceed to contact with them that you're interested in this part-time job and you apply for it. If you are a person who doesn't like applying the part-time job online, then you can go work in. For example, some of the food and beverage store, they put a very large signboard that they are recruiting, they are hiring a large number of employees, and it also includes some of the job requirements and then the salary payment on their signboard. Then you can just walk in and ask the manager, the outlet manager, that you want to apply for the part-time job. And if you are lucky, then they will just ask you to fill the form, and they will send this form to their respective HR, and they will get back to you maybe within 1 week, and then you will get a part-time job. So in earlier, I mentioned that if you're lucky, then you will get a job, part-time job, if you work in applying for that. I mentioned that because sometimes they just put a poster like they are recruiting a large number of employees. Actually, they have enough part-timers. So it just depends on the time, that you apply. For example, during the school periods, that you are very likely to get a job because most of the students are going to school and they don't do a part-time job, they focus on their study. But if you are applying during the September, October or November, December period, then you are less likely to get a part-time job because during this period is a holiday for most of the Singapore students, and O-level students just completed their O-level exam, so they are very free because their polytechnic were open in April, and then the JC junior college were open in February. So during that period, they are free, and most of the students are going for the part-time job, so there is a little or no vacancy for you. So if you are willing to do the part-time job, so try to apply during the school period, even if you are going to work during the holiday, so you get a higher chance to get a part-time job. So regarding to the salaries, I would say that the range for the part-time job in Singapore is from $8 to the $13. I remember that in the previous video I mentioned like the part-time pay in Singapore is $8 to $10, but for now it has increased because GST already increased from 7% to 8%. So the part-time payment has increased a bit, and for some part-time job, if you are lucky, and then you will get $13 per hour, which is very high for the part-timer in Singapore. Then how many hours can you work as a part-time? So according to the laws, during the school term, you can only work 16 hours per week. And during the holiday, you can work as much as you want. So here I can give an answer to you guys that if the part-time job can cover your living expense, I will say no, because it can cover only your food and transportation but not your rent. So let's assume that you get $10 per hour and you work all 16 hours per week in your school terms, and so you will get $160 per week, and for a month you will get only $640, which will definitely cover your food and transportation but not your rent, because for now the rent fees is like around $1,000 because it keeps increasing. For some places it's like $1,200 per month. So it doesn't cover your living expense at all unless you work more than 16 hours during your school break and save them up and cover your living expenses. So how is the application of the part-time job? So some of the part-time jobs, they will ask you to submit the CV form. So for that, you have to create your own CV form and include some of the backgrounds that you have and submit it. But for most of the part-time job, they don't need the CV form, they just need to sit an interview. So for here, I wanted to share some of my experience. So for me, I just applied to the WhatsApp, and the respective HR will ask me to go and see my manager at the respective outlet and sit for an interview. And once you have the interview, I believe that some of you guys were afraid that if you screw up, then you don't get a part-time job. It's not like that. It's like you are most likely to be hired if you are asked to go for an interview. So what are those interview questions? They are very, very simple. So the respective manager will ask you very, very simple questions. So you don't need to be afraid of that. So sometimes they ask about your age, because I think under 14 years old, they cannot do a part-time job. So they will definitely ask your age, and sometimes you have to show your student ID cards, or if you're a permanent resident, then you just show your Singapore ID and it will do that. And they ask like, do you have any prior experience? So based on that, they will think of whether they should give the basic salary or higher salary for you. So for my very first part-time job, they in the website they mentioned like the salary is $8 to $9 per hour. When I got there, they mentioned like because I don't have any prior experience, they want to reduce my salary to $7 per hour. Then I showed the website like here is the $8 and they immediately increase the salary. So if they are like reducing your salary to very low rate, then you can ask in a polite way that in the website how much is it, and they will think of increasing that, so you don't have to worry about that. And then they will explain about the job scope, like what you need to do. So because the assistant manager is in the outlet of the restaurant or the F&B, so there are lots of employees working there, so they will just find in some of the employees and show us how the work is, and they will ask whether you can do that or not, and the working hour, and then how many hours that you can give, like how many per week that you can give, weekdays or weekends, and how many per hours that they ask. And most of them were the weekdays, because most of the students are work on the weekends, so they prefer the weekdays evening time. And if you are the one who got to the part-time job very earlier, like apply earlier, then there will be the vacancy for the weekends, and that you are lucky enough that you can do the part-time job during your school days also. Earlier I mentioned like the manager asked me whether I have a prior experience or not. So for that, for those who don't have the prior experience, you don't have to be afraid of, because the part-time job itself has a training for you guys. So there are like 2 types of training for me for 2 different part-time jobs. So for both training are on-job training. Why I mentioned 2 types of training? Because one of the training is like they have to go to the other outlet, the main outlet, and go there, and the very high positions people, like how can I say that, like lower than the CEO but very high position, will come and observe you where you can do. The other way is like the actual outlet, and you will train on job training, and only the manager will guide you and see your performance. So I think the first one is most stressful because they have a higher position, but don't be scared of that. Or are really nice to me, because they treat me as a baby, like I don't know anything, and they are willing to teach me. If you are going to apply the food and beverage F&B industry, then you need to have a food hygiene certificate. So for this course, you have to attend 1 day. It's like 9 to 6 p.m. and it's only a 1-day course, and it costs like $100+ if I remember correctly. But you don't have to worry about that, because the company will apply for it and they will pay money for the course as well. So all you have to do is go and attend the course, and this certificate will be valid for 5 years, which is a pretty long time. So for the training, they pay money for it. For example, if your basic salary is $8, then you will pay $8 per hour for the training as well. But for some of the part-time job, they will pay lesser. Like for example, $8 per hour, and then they will pay like $3 per hour for the training if you are not going to do their part-time job. For example, you feel very tiring during your training, and you feel like this is not suitable for you, then you want to quit after training, then your training fees will be less than your part-time pay, like $3 per hour. So it's pretty less. So if you want to quit, I advise you that after training you just do 1 week part-time job and then quit, so you get the full payment for your training as well. Job scope for the cashier is very simple. You have to memorize all the food that your outlets serve, and then you need to know where to key in, and then the respective price. That's all you need to do. You need to remember, and then sometimes you need to pack the food for your customers, and then if the place is dirty, then you have to clean. So which languages used in the part-time job? So for me, I have both experiences, like mainly Chinese part-time job and mainly English part-time job. So for the Chinese part-time job, they mainly recruit the people from China, like China, the people from the China, they apply for the full-time job here. So for them, they can speak only Chinese English, not at all. And the customers come in like the elderly, they can speak only in Chinese. So if you're a person who cannot speak Chinese at all, I would encourage you not to apply this kind of part-time job, because you will be very tiring communicating with these people, because you cannot understand them and they cannot understand you as well. So this is one part-time job. The other part-time job is mainly English, because in this part-time job, like they recruit all types of people, like from Malay, from China, and also the like from foreign countries. So in this part-time job, they mainly use English. So I would recommend you to apply this kind of part-time job. And for the part-time job, the networking will be a bit important, because if one of your friends is working in this part-time job and then he or she recommends you to come here to do a part-time job, then you are more likely to get a part-time job. If you want to resign a part-time job, you have to say to your respective manager 2 weeks before your resignation, and you have to return all of your clothes and whatever they give you, like cup or apron, everything has to return. If you don't return, then they will deduct your final pay like $20. It is not worth it. So remember to return them as well. Regarding to the experience of my part-time job, the very first day of part-time job is always tiring, because you don't know where to key in and the like job stretcher and where the plastic bags or the materials are kept. So you have a lot of things to learn. So the first day of the part-time job is very tiring. And regarding to the colleagues, it depends on which kind of people you're meeting. Sometimes you meet the bad people and they are not willing to teach you and they let you do everything on your own. Sometimes you meet the very good people and they treat you like a very baby, like they teach you everything. So it depends on your luck. And regarding to the customers, some of the customers are very bad and they never treat you with the respect. So it all is just their personality, their bad personality, not because you're bad, but most of the time they understand that we are students, we are trying to share the burden from our parents, so they can understand that. So it depends on people, not all, like do not stereotype. For some of the jobs, they are very flexible, like you can go for 3 hours per day, they also accept that. For some of the part-time jobs, they are like compulsory for you to do at least 6 hours per day. So when you're finding the part-time job, I recommend you to find a flexible job, because we are students, and I encourage you to focus more on your studies than the part-time job, because after school your income will be higher than this part-time job and less tiring. That's all for this video, and I hope this video is informative to you guys. And if I left out something that you want to know, you can freely to comment in this channel or message to me in Stella in Singapore Facebook page, and I will reply you as soon as I see the message. And bye bye, see you guys in next video.